So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Kalen Hall. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Informuta, and I'm really excited to talk to y'all about how we're on a mission to bring precision medicine to how we treat the most difficult infections. So, we're currently in the second deadliest pandemic of all time, only rivaled by the bubonic plague. And I'm not talking about COVID, I'm talking about antibiotic resistant infections. So, the WHO predicts that by 2050, 40 million people will die from this problem. And already globally, it costs us $900 billion every single year. And we really just don't have the proper tools to try to tackle this monster of a problem. So if you go into a hospital right now, you'll most likely they will try to figure out what your infection is resistant to using culture-based testing, which has been around for nearly 150 years, and it's incredibly slow. It takes over 5 days to get a good result, and it's also rather inaccurate in predicting how well a drug would actually do in a patient. So some hospitals use newer technologies such as PCR, but these are very limited in what panels they work for, and it's not very predictive, again, of drug response. So, next generation sequencing is a new technology. It's incredibly fast and very sensitive. It's a very promising alternative for this problem, but right now we do not have scalable data analytics techniques to really make actionable insights out of this data. So that's where we come in. So we've built a machine learning powered platform called ResistSense that takes in the input of just raw DNA reads and then outputs specific resistance susceptibility for all relevant drugs. That's what clinicians are used to seeing nowadays. And we're also, for the very first time, building up this metric that predicts whether an infection would become drug resistant in the future, delivering this early warning risk factor. And we can do this all in under 20 hours total, and that includes the time needed to sequence the bacteria. So our key differentiator is that what we use to train our models are these things called mutational signatures. So you can think of these are just highly specific fingerprint-like patterns and mutations found in the DNA. So what we're really kind of doing here is building a whole new class of biomarkers that we're using to predict these phenotypes. The big advantages of this is that we can use it to predict that future resistance. That's how we do that. It's also incredibly scalable. So the big problem in this field right now and looking in DNA is that the usual things that we look for, so these mutations and these genes vary from either strain to strain and species to species basis. We don't have that problem with this. So we can scalably iterate and apply this to all bacteria and even fungi and viruses. And the other thing is that this technique does not care what the mechanism of resistance is. So it's completely independent of that and makes it the most accurate approach and minimizes false negative rates. So we have a broad IP portfolio covering this methods of use to use these signatures to predict both current and future resistance. We have an exclusive worldwide license from Tulane University to have this technology. We have FTO granted. All inventors are involved in the company. And we also have a pipeline of additional company-owned IP in development. So the way that this would actually be delivered to health systems is an in vitro diagnostic consisting of this two-component platform. So we are developing this kit that is used as a pre-processing step, and then the data would be delivered through the software platform. The advantage of this is that this kit is what gives us that fast turnaround time of 8 to 20 hours, depending on what sequencer you use. And then it also follows a drop-in model. So hospital technicians that use sequencing already use kits like this. So it's really easy to just swap out ours for another, and there's no additional training needed. We've already secured 5 partners in health systems for clinical validation that's gearing up to begin in December for our first prospective studies. And recent clinical data has been showing a 92 to 100% accuracy rate for the technology. We're also NSF funded to do this work, and we're a resident at J Labs to perform this clinical validation. So in terms of how we're actually going to be delivering this to hospitals and what the market looks like so if we're targeting just hospitals with sequencing capabilities, with just the top 10 systems alone, we can be making 230 million in annual revenue, and that expands all the way up to trillions of dollars with global expansion. And just to highlight this, so focusing on this obtainable market with these 10 systems, we already have connections and partnerships developed with 3 out of the 10, and within the next 6 months, we expect to have 7 of the 10. So that's really how we're entering the market and driving the sales strategy. So just with these 7 alone, that would equate to 157 million in annual revenue. But really, who our first customers are going to be is we're targeting pharma and drug development. So there's a huge opportunity for this technology as a companion diagnostic, and overall bringing a value of directing clinicians to use those more last line, new to market drugs up front and kind of reinvigorate the sales cycle with antibiotics, which is a huge problem right now. We're also building up an asset of a large scale database with both genomic and clinical data that could be a huge asset for future drug development as well. And we also want to apply this to public health. So partnering with public health agencies and using this, who these health agencies often sequence their bacteria, and it's hard to figure out resistance patterns just from that data alone. And we can come in and solve that problem for them. So in terms of our product development, we've already been prototyping and in the preclinical stage. We've already tested on real patient samples retrospectively. And like I mentioned, in December, we're gearing up for those first prospective clinical trials. We're currently in prototyping and developing the kit right now, and we plan to be launching implementation studies with the full kit plus software by late summer of next year. We plan to pursue the 510(k) pathway for FDA clearance, and then are expecting to have our first actual pilots with hospitals by the end of 2026. So lining that up with how we're fundraising. So we currently have a round open for 1 million. It's actually kind of 100% committed right now, which is awesome. But but so really what we're looking for is early conversations and potential partners of who would be a good fit for our C plus round in the late spring. So we're looking to raise 3 million there. That's going to get us all the way through clinical implementation studies and all the way through FDA submission. And then after that, we plan to raise our Series A, and that would be funding our initial hospital sales strategies. So our founding team consists of myself and my co-founder, Leo. Both of us are the inventors of this technology. We've been driving this since the very early days of research, and we both combined have over 17 years of experience in this domain of knowledge. And we're also supported by an incredible advisory board. So that with combined have over 100 publications in these fields, who have been practicing clinical infectious disease for decades, and also have extensive leadership in biotech with some successful exits. And so with that, again, my name is Kalen Hall. This is Informuta, providing precision in every prediction. Thank you all so much for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions or discuss more afterwards.
Any questions other than how you close that $1 million seed round? Questions?
Thank you for the presentation. We met outside. A couple of questions for you. Will this have applicability in the military as well? Or, for example, more like deep tech type of research? Because hospitals are like very niche.
Yeah, so I mean, really, the platform itself is rather flexible in where we market it to. We're definitely looking at DoD and military applications. So one of the really nice things about this approach is that we're, as far as I know, the only software platform that works both with long read and short read sequencing technologies. And what's really neat about that, from both a military and a public health perspective, is most hospitals, most people that use sequencing for clinical practice use these like big Illumina sequencers. They're hundreds of thousands of dollars. They take longer to run. But Oxford Nanopore is a different sequencing platform. It could be about this big. You can plug it into a laptop, and you can actually get real-time results. So we're validating on that right now. We're hoping with that platform, we can actually get the total turnaround time to a couple of hours. And that is hugely portable. They also only cost a couple grand. So in terms of military actually getting it out, because the number one cause of death for warfighters right now is actually sepsis. So there's a huge application there and huge market.